Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Few thought Leicester would win the Premier League, or that Donald Trump would be the Republican nominee. What odds would the panel give on him becoming President of America?
Well, Michael O'Leary, you're a horse racing man. What odds would you give on Donald Trump becoming President?
Well, firstly, as a lifelong Man City fan, I should say I'm one of the few who isn't particularly happy that Leicester won the Premiership. I would give Trump much better odds than most of the media presently give him. He was a huge outsider in the Republican primaries. He's won by quite some distance. And I think what will play to his strength is the fact that I think Hillary Clinton is a poor candidate on the Democrat side. You have an unusual election that you have one of the most unpopular Democrat nominees taking on one of the most unpopular Republican nominees. But Trump reminds me in some way like Reagan, hugely underestimated and yet electorally successful. The polls tell us he won't win in November, but I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be much closer than than the polls currently predict.
And all these insults that he's been dishing out over the campaign, which Reagan never did, is that not going to make people turn away from it, or people rather enjoy
It's
that?
the nature of the primaries, you know, and frankly, dishing out insults has served me very well as a career.
Well, you just insult your passengers.
No, just the competition. We've been insulting the competition for many years. It's never held back Ryanair's progress.
OK, enough of the advertisement. Benjamin Zephaniah.
Well, I think Leicester have done amazingly well for a start. I think this season, when it comes to football, has been a brilliant season of football, apart from my team, Aston Villa. They've played really badly, but they've done it by hard work and passion and belief. I'm not sure if Donald Trump believes most of the things he says he's going to do, and if he does, I think he'll have a similar problem to the one that Barack Obama had in a different way, but a similar problem in that you promise all these things, you're going to do all these things when you get in power, but when you get in, the real politic of being able to do them is something else. So if Donald Trump got in power and he said he's going to build a wall to kick the Mexicans out, or he's going to invade China, or whatever it is he's going to do, some people are going to come into his office and say, Mr. President, this is the reality. And he's going to have to learn some really hard lessons about what politics is really about. It's really easy when you're kind of in opposition, or you are kind of, campaigning to make lots of promises. But once you get in power, it's a different deal. And if he really did win power, and he got anywhere near doing half of the things that he says he's going to do, my friends, it would be the end of the world as we know it.
Yes. Are you for Trump, the woman at the back there?
No, I definitely am not for Trump. I just wanted to say I really think that's a valid point by Benjamin, because that's exactly what David Cameron has done in his premiership, isn't it? He said he would not cut frontline services. That's exactly what he's done. All those election promises, they're all not worth the paper they're written on.
Do you think any election promises are worth the paper they're written on? Any party ever?
Yeah, Jeremy Corbyn's.
All right, okay. Well, I think we have yet to see that. Nigel Lawson.
Yeah, first of all, Leicester, which is the most important thing. I am very happy indeed tonight, because you forgot to read out my full title, which is Lord Lawson of Blaby. And Blaby is just next door to Leicester City, in the heart of Leicestershire. I was a Leicestershire member, and it is absolutely great. It's a wonderful David and Goliath story, and I'm absolutely delighted.
I know I could rely on you to read out your full title if I failed to.
Well, I wouldn't have done it if Leicester City hadn't won the Premiership. On Trump, I agree with Michael that although he's unlikely to win, it's not impossible. Nobody ever expected that he would be the Republican candidate. Also, it is not the case that he would have the slightest difficulty in doing he were president, which I don't wish to see, but if he were, doing things completely differently from what he said in the getting the nomination for the candidacy. He is quite capable of changing his mind without the slightest hesitation. But he
You
is
say that
not
about any politician
no,
or about him particularly?
No, he is exceptional in that way. But he's not to compare him with Ronald Reagan is completely wrong. I knew Ronald Reagan quite well. And Ronald Reagan was a great man and a great politician. And before he became president, he had been a hugely successful governor of California. And California is bigger than most countries in Europe. I mean, it's a substantial job, and he did it very well. He had plenty of experience, he knew what he was doing, and he did it very well. Trump has never done anything except made money. He's lost it and made it again. But I don't think they're remotely like each other. But you never know. We're living in a curious age in the West where there is a huge hostility to what might be called the political establishment and conventional politicians. So you simply don't know what might happen.
You, sir.
I agree with the panel so far. I think it's terrible that in a country of the size of 250 million plus, that we have a choice of either Donald Trump or another dynasty where we had the Kennedys, we had the Bushes, and now we've got the Clintons. If we don't do it this time, let's have a better process for getting a governor, a president for the next United States. And on the topic of Leicester, congratulations. Hopefully,
I don't think we need to go too much on about Leicester.
No, this is important.
She started it.
I think yes, she started it. I know she did.
The third one in this, sorry, is that the UK wins the Eurovision Song Contest.
Right, okay. And you, sir, on the left there.
I'll never have. Well, might we actually be grateful that it's Trump and not Ted Cruz, because at least you could make the argument that Trump doesn't believe half the things he says, whereas Ted Cruz actually believed everything he said. Isabel Oakeshott.
Well, I don't know really anything about football. All I would say on Leicester
Forget the football,
is
just come to the...
I'm really looking forward to seeing Gary Lineker presenting Match of the Day in his underpants. On the question of Trump, there's a sort of analogy with David Cameron here. When David Cameron was a young MP, he wanted to get lots of airtime, and when TV researchers used to ring him up asking for his views on things, he would give incredibly strong views, practically frothing at the mouth, so that they invited him onto programmes. And then once he'd secured his slot on the panel, he would completely calm his view down, much to the dismay of the producers. So I think it's entirely possible that Donald Trump has played a very calculated game and has exaggerated many of his positions on things. In terms of how likely it is that he's going to win, well, it's certainly something that's now been taken a lot more seriously in the corridors of power here. And it's interesting to see people like the Prime Minister squirming slightly, having called him stupid and being very dismissive all along. He may have to retreat on that.
He's now said he deserves our respect.
Well, it's a hasty U-turn.
But looking at the way that Trump has fought this campaign, you're a political observer. Do you think it's been calculated? Do you think everything he says is calculated, or is some of it just shooting from the hip?
I think it's probably a bit of both. I mean, make no mistake, Donald Trump has the resources to employ the best possible advisors, and he's come from absolutely nowhere to the position he is today. But at the end of the day, he is an extremely strong and charismatic personality, probably not particularly good at editing himself all the time. So this is a man who will shoot from the hip.
Okay, you sit up there at the back.
Yeah, I agree with Lord Lawson about...
Oh, you? Oh, well, all right. I'll come to you afterwards.
Sorry. Yeah, well, people are sort of like sick of the establishment where... And that's why they've turned to Donald Trump. Even the Republicans didn't want him as their candidate, but then he's still got a bit... It's almost like people don't really care about his policies, but like they're tired of like the political correctness and the lies of the elite that they've had for generations, really.
What do you think the odds of him winning are?
I think they're quite good, because I'd agree that Hillary Clinton's not a very good candidate either.
It's 2-1 now, apparently.
I would probably bet on Trump being
The
president.
odds have shortened. And you, so you had your hand up, and I'll come to you then.
Well, I was just going to say what the lady said, and if, hypothetically, Trump does win and become president, well, does this mean David Cameron will have to climb down off his high horse and actually have to deal with it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they're politicians. They won't have any difficulty dealing with each other once they get elected.
Yeah, but if a man of David Cameron's supposedly stature and all this high education is going to have to deal with a man who says he's from the people and the working class and brought himself up, he's going to have to deal with that type of person. And if Donald Trump actually says something and does something that David Cameron doesn't actually like, what does he do about it then?
Okay.
No different to the relationship with Obama.
Listen, Andy, I mean, supposing, let's just take the example of Jeremy Corbyn. If Jeremy Corbyn was Prime Minister, were to be, and had to deal with Trump, that's an interesting relationship. How would that go?
Well, I think we've always had a duty to be honest to our friends and allies as much as we're honest to people that we fundamentally disagree with. And I think Jeremy's proven over the last few months that he's prepared to tell the truth and be honest about what he really thinks, even when it gets him into a great row. So I don't think you would have any worries on that point. But I think there is a serious point here, which is that in Britain, we love an underdog, don't we? And everybody, I think, was rooting for Leicester and has been really pleased about what happened this week. And, you know, it looks like Donald Trump has come in as a kind of outsider and he's going to pull off this great political upset. But if you look behind the drama and the kind of absurdity of some of the things that he's saying, he is a deeply offensive, divisive candidate. And if he is doing something... If he's doing something that, as Isabel suggests, might be much more calculated, which I think she's right to say, then that is actually even worse. Because the comments that he's made, particularly about Muslims, but also about women and other people in America and across the world, have a real-life impact on people right now and the level of hostility and prejudice and discrimination that they face. And it's the sort of nasty, divisive politics that we're now seeing start to seep into British politics with the disgraceful campaign that Zach Goldsmith and David Cameron have run against the Parliament.
That is why, although he has a chance, he is most unlikely to become president, just as Jeremy Corbyn is most unlikely ever to become Prime Minister.
It's not Jeremy Corbyn, he's been running a disgraceful campaign in London.
All right, well, we'll have the result of all that, actually, the mayoralty, not till Friday or late Friday or Saturday or something. Anyway, let's go on.